Linda, we're going to get started with a comment that was written in your book by Jonathan Hout, one of our local, of course from the Pat Conroy Literary Center, said about you. And I'm going to paraphrase so I don't have to memorize it. Linda Lovely excels at balancing life and death stakes with the deceptively benign world of homeowner associations. Which is quite a comment in and of itself. That's what he said. What do you say about your newest book, Neighbors to Die For?
Well, I have a 3-book contract with Level Best Books for the HOA Mysteries. So this is the second one, and of course the heroine is the same. And Kylie is a retired Coast Guard investigator who goes to work for a homeowner management company. And managing homeowner associations can be murder, which they find out. And it's fun to do a series because you have the characters established in the first book that are your main characters, and you can watch them develop and their relationships and how they change. So it's fun to write a series and see how those things progress. I always love to have the family aspect involved, and so Kylie's mother is always a part of it, and Mert is very outspoken, and I probably identify with Mert as much as I do with Kylie.
Now, can you describe for us the pool of ideas and inspirations that kind of gets thrown through the process of writing this book?
Well, I have been a president of a homeowner association. I've been a vice president, I've been a secretary, and I joined a lawsuit against one that was going to spend about $80,000 without a vote, which was required by our covenants. So their homeowner associations are like any other human enterprise. It all depends on the dynamics of the people and who runs for the board, if they have pet peeves, and you can have a homeowner association that will go along for a long time without a single controversy, and then boom.
Deceptively benign. Now, this is your 10th novel.
Right.
So what excited you, as you said, developing your characters, what excites you about continuing the second installment as you've done, and then proceeding on to your third, perhaps?
Well, once you write one of these, too, you hear from everybody about their homeowner associations. So, for instance, I have one couple that own a boat that's big enough for them to live on. So I had called them and asked them some questions about what it would be like to be on the boat. And they said, well, let me tell you about my homeowner association up in New Jersey. And basically, the beginning of the book starts with the mulch controversy that
the SWAT. Deceptively benign.
So, it's funny. I mean, there are things that come up. But the other thing that I try to do is I read all the time, and there's always news events that are going on. And when I started this second one, it was clear how many times people were blaming this group or that group. And I thought, boy, if I had a villain that wanted to do evil and get away with it, I would pin it on somebody else. And basically that gave me sort of the theme for the book of, this is somebody that is crafty enough to try to get away with something by pinning it on another group, and people buying it because of their conceptions already of what that group is like. So that made that fun.
Now, I asked what excited you. What do you think your readers will get excited about in Neighbors to Die For?
I got the nicest email today. I was at the Greenville Public Library for an event a couple of weeks ago, and a woman wrote me, "My husband bought your book for me, and I am an educator, and I'm reading all the time for work, and I had quit reading for pleasure. And your book is the first one that I have finished in years." And she said, "It really taught me again the joy of reading just for fun." And so, you get something like that and you go, yes, But I try to keep the pace going and to have enough humor in it that it doesn't take itself too seriously. And I think that's the combination that I look for, is that people have suspense, but they also have some humor.
Linda, the last time you were here, we talked about how you enjoy the research part of your writing process. So, pun intended, how deep do you dive into the story details? Because in this particular book, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone, that drowning sequence is a great example. Tell us about that.
When I'm doing research, a lot of times I do have things that are in my past that I can call upon. I was a synchronized swimmer years ago. I taught swimming, and Mom had me swimming when I was very young. I guess I was too stupid. I would walk out into the lake until the water closed over my head, so she decided that I needed to learn how to swim. And I've been a dedicated swimmer ever since. So, and I've had to, when I'm teaching swimming, jump in and get kids and whatever. So I have a lot of experience with what it's like to be in and around people in a pool or in a place of water. So that was not hard to use my imagination on that.
Now, in addition, Linda, what real life experiences or characters helped add to Neighbors to Die For?
I love when you say real life experiences. I have experiences with people in terms of the homeowner associations that I'm involved with. Over the years, I've lived in 4 different ones. And you remember their personalities and what they're like, and you can, while you're not using them as characters, you are taking their personalities and often melding them to fit situations. So in the book, you might have a situation where people are arguing about X, deer population, say, well, I was involved in something else that was entirely different, but it was the same kind of passionate debate. So those kinds of things you can get from your real life experiences. But a lot of the stuff I really get by going out and doing the research in terms of asking people about their life experiences. I won't tell you who, but I, for this series, have a friend who manages a very large homeowner association on Hilton Head. And I was introduced to him through another manager in my neck of the woods. And we're pen pals now, so I'll write him and ask him questions about what problems he's seeing. And one of them, which will be in my next book, is the fact that there are so many apps out there now where people are sharing information, and a lot of times misinformation, and how does the homeowner association deal with that when you have a comment and then you have 100 different comments that follow that, and maybe 90 of them are misinformation. So that's another thing that you can look at. I also talked with the head of a harbor master, And again, he is not going to want me to tell you which harbor. But I needed to know for this book whether it would be possible to go joyriding in a yacht. And when I asked him, I said, you know, how would I go about if I wanted to take one of these yachts out without anybody knowing? How would I go about it? And he said, well, you want to go for a ride? And told me basically where people normally keep their keys and how easy it is to basically take a yacht out between the morning check and the evening check, and if they're back and there's no damage to the boat, nobody will ever know. So even more easy to go joyriding than in a Corvette that's parked on the road. So those kinds of things. I didn't ever have that idea for the book until I did the research and talked with the gentleman, and then it was, wow, I can use this.
Before I let you leave, I have to mention your main character, Kylie, has a little bit in common with our Sun City demographic. She's 55, she is retired, and she lives in the Low Country, but I guess unlike us, she's solving crimes, and she's also keeping herself out of dangerous situations she gets in. So there's that. How and why do you create a profile like this?
Well, you may not know some of your neighbors may be involved in all kinds of things, but I have nieces that are in their 50s, and they are physically fit. They run marathons, and they do things that are entirely possible. And you have so many people from military careers that retire early enough that they can have a second career in something like investigation. The other thing is, my last series had much younger protagonists. And I've decided I'm too old to write young protagonists now. That basically it's not that I have forgotten what it's like to be 20 and in love or in danger or fearful, but they've grown up with the cell technology and the texting, and it is so different that trying to translate the emotions may be the same, but trying to make the dialogue believable and how they would react to a situation believable is really difficult. So I like to stay with characters for the most part. Now I have younger characters that are secondary in the book, which is fine. But as far as my major characters, I like to stay with 50 and above.
I was going to leave you with the last question of, are we going to see you again with another installment of the series? But thank you for sharing that very early on, because I'm excited for the next book. I'm so excited that you come to share this with us. And like the lady in Greenville said, it's books that we can finish, books that make us smile, but books that make us think. And now I can save myself if I ever start drowning.
All right.
That's a lot to ask from an author.
When I got married, I had a choice of changing my name, and I had already been writing under Linda Lovely, and my husband's last name is Hooker. So Linda Lovely Hooker did not seem to be a really good idea. I do have some steamier novels, but they're not that steamy. So I have one series where one of my heroines does have the last name Hooker, but I've avoided that. And with the blessing of my husband's mother at the time too. She was a nurse and was always known as the Happy Hooker at her hospital, so she said, yeah, fine. I have written 10 books. This is my 10th, and this is my new series, which is a homeowner association mystery series. And I decided to do this. I have been president of a I've lived in 4 homeowner associations. I've been president of one, I've been vice president, I've been a secretary, and I have joined a lawsuit against a homeowners association. So I've seen the gamut, and the idea came to me that the homeowner associations today are very much like the villages that were the popular setting for mysteries back with Agatha Christie. And the advantage of having homeowner associations are they are like little villages where you may not know everybody, but if you haven't known them, you've heard about them. So there's lots of opportunities for gossip and information and people knowing each other, and if you have a murder, suspects, you know, who would this be? So that's one of the advantages of choosing homeowner associations. And like villages, or small towns like Keokuk, Iowa, where I grew up, whoever is elected, whether it's to the board or to be mayor of your town, is going to change the tenor of the community, and there are lots of opportunities for how that is going to be different and change. And there are also so many homeowner associations in the Lowcountry that I wanted to avoid the Cabot Cove syndrome, where, you know, everybody in Cabot Cove, she's decimated the population, you know, probably with Murder, She Wrote, you know, half of them have died. So this way I can spread the murders across multiple HOAs. And there are lots of them. There are the condo associations and the homeowner associations, and the management company manages at least 12 different HOAs in Beaufort County. So they're spread across Hilton Head, Bluffton, and Beaufort. My heroine is a retired Coast Guard investigator, and she's 50 years old, has just retired, and is fit. She lives on a boat in the downtown Beaufort Marina. And I like to pick a heroine that has the requisite skills to actually solve a mystery and do detection work. I mean, I have a lot of friends that write cozy mysteries where the heroine is a quilter or feeds feral cats, and that's her main occupation or whatever. But I try to have one that at least has skills that make that portion believable. And there's nothing wrong with the cozy. It's just I'm more comfortable doing it with. And yeah, all of my books, there aren't heroes. They're all heroines. So there may be a hero involved in terms of a companion or partner, but the main protagonist is always a heroine. All of my books, there aren't heroes. They're all heroines. So there may be a hero involved in terms of a companion or partner, but the main protagonist is always a heroine. And I look for, when I start a book, they call people either plotters or pantsers. And some people spend 6 months, you know, with the little Post-it notes and putting together or outlines and organizations before they start writing, and then they write the book in like 6 weeks. I don't know how those people function. But then there are the pantsers, which I belong to. And basically, when I start, I know who my heroine is, I know who my villain is, I know what their motives are, and I have a general theme for the book of where that book is going to go. But I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I have my opening scene, and then things just sort of develop. And part of it develops as a result of the research that I start doing when I start a book. There are so many different ways to research, but my husband and I were here in Hilton Head last February, And one of the things that we did was, I did, was I went and knocked on a harbor master's door and said, gee, can I ask you some questions? And I'm writing a book and I'm checking out different ways, scenarios. And I'm wondering, would it be possible for me to borrow a yacht for the day without anybody knowing? And he said, well, you want to go for a ride? So I'm not going to tell you which harbor master this was, but he explained to me how easy it was to actually go joyriding in a yacht. So that opened up a whole different scenario for me in terms of what I could do with that. And then I had been spending time with a friend who is a birder. And she comes to the Lowcountry a lot of times and her friends to do birding surveys and take pictures. And so I started talking with her about how knowing the bird calls and what their habitat is, you could figure out where a place was. And I said, ooh, I could use this to help locate somebody in a story. So I made one of my characters, I decided to make them, they're studying ornithology at Cornell University in upstate New York, but live down here. And I have them on Thanksgiving vacation. And so that gives me another opportunity. So I like to, for me, this is the fun of it. It's knowing where your theme is, knowing, what you want to do and what your villain's motives are, but then using things that you learn along the way to have fun with it and write the story. And I always say that Mayo Clinic endorses my books. They point out that laughter can stimulate your heart, lungs, and muscles, increase endorphins released by your brain, stimulate circulation, and they add that laughter isn't just a short-term panacea, but it's good for you over the long haul in improving your immune system. So my suggestion is that you empty those medicine cabinets and you pick up a book that scares the pants off of you, but then makes you laugh at being in your underwear. So I was sitting next to Jeffrey Deaver, and he was comparing well-crafted books to symphonies. And he said, you could not sit through a symphony where it's all crashing cymbals and drums and what have you. You've got to have those interludes that give your audience a break and let them sort of lull down until the next. And for me, that's the role of humor, that you get a chance to have a breather from what's going on, from the suspense, and then you can ramp it up again. If you're a smart writer, you pick a genre and you stick with it. You write cozy mysteries, you have a brand and you're known for it. I am not a smart writer. When I was a journalism major in college and wrote anything for a buck for most of my career. I did lots of magazine feature articles. I did speeches for executives. I did help for computers. I did video scripts, marketing plans, advertising. And then when I figured that I didn't have to make money, I did what I wanted to do, which is write fiction. So I have written, I'll go for a series. This is a series that is cozy mysteries, and the heroine is, and again, I got this idea from visiting a goat farm. At the time, our doctor had talked my husband and I into trying a vegan diet. And our relatives were giving us such grief that I decided I would have a vegan heroine, vegan chef, who goes to live with her aunt who runs a dairy goat farm. So, every day they're arguing about what's going to be on the dinner table, that night and whatever. But again, that's the humor side of it and have fun with it. But I also then visited the goat farm multiple times. I did take goat yoga. There was not a lot of yoga involved in it. There was a lot of goats involved. But to me, doing that kind of thing and the research, and then I had fun with that series. I wrote 3 books. As I said, I've written 1 historical suspense set in my hometown in 1938. My new series is the Homeowner Association series. And Deer Killer is my very first mystery. And it is also set in the Low Country and has a heroine who has also, she's also retired military. But in this case, she has the same exact background as my best friend from kindergarten on, who's retired military intelligence. And I used Arlene's, she first became a Polish linguist. My character happens to speak Polish too. So, but in the book, the heroine, of course, is a widow. And Arlene's husband has said, "Now, why did you kill me off?" And I said, "Well, that would have been boring." So I have jumped from around. Dead Hunt, which is there, is a steamy book, steamy romantic suspense. And that one, my heroine is a security, she's retired FBI, but she works as the security director for a university that's remarkably like Furman University, but of course is not. And for that, I spent a couple of days with the director of security at Furman University and seeing what they did and how they did it. And I actually got a lot of my plot ideas from looking at the books, the magazines that he had on his coffee table. And they had a number of reports on the growth of terrorist groups. And so I use that in that. And then also my husband and I have done a lot of hiking on the Foothills Trail up around Lake Keowee. So we have a lot of scenes that are in the woods and out in the wilderness. So I will have a 3rd book in the HOA Mystery Series. I'm writing it now. Most publishers these days want series because they hope you're going to build your readership over time.